All right, I hope everyone is doing well. My name is James, and I'm glad. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to go over a few updates. There are honestly a lot of updates, as you can see in my browser. We're not going to do them all in this video. I'm going to make this one short, concise. I'm going to go over a few updates that happened last month that I have been doing research on and looking at. And it's just been quite busy, not only with all the things that have been happening, but all the new partners that I've got doing payouts, etc. with it. And so we're going to go over what's happening in the oil markets. We're going to talk about energy, the new or the current administration, what they have done new, and a possible hot war. So let's take a look at oil today. It's down 2 cents. That is nothing. That does not matter. The thing I want to draw your attention to is it's been pretty stable for the last year. And what I mean by stable, you're like, what is this, James? I don't know. Stable is it's been around $70 for the last year or so, right? So let's look at a bigger chart. You see oil. This is with the Russian invasion right here. It led up to they invaded in right after the Olympics, which was February, and then bam, by March 7th, it had peaked it at over 120, right? I think it's not on my chart anymore. Anyway, about 130, kind of came back down, peaked again, and just stayed in this above 100 range for like 3 to 6 months, about 6 months, give or take, right? My point with this is let's look at the trends. As you can see, it's kind of going in a downward trend. It hits a plateau here, right around here, and then pops up, right? Comes down, hits another plateau, okay? And then the biggest thing is, what do we think is going to happen in the future, right? What's going to happen over here? Is it going to keep plateauing? It can do one of three things. It can keep plateauing, it can go down, or it can go up. In technical terms, this would be called a double bottom, right? And so you have a bottom here, pops up, bottom here, and then what is most likely, and there's a 70-30% chance, right, is it's going to pop up, okay? It'll probably, when it does, it'll probably test $80 to $90, high 80s, low 90s to a dollar barrel again, and then from there, it will either pop up higher and come up here. Again, it'll test about 100 or so, and then test again 120. When it gets to 120, I don't have faith that it's going to be there for longer, right? But if it hits 120, it's going to come back down. Where it stops, nobody knows. My prediction that I made last year was that by the summer, sometime in the summer, so sometime in May, June, July, maybe in latest August 2024, oil is going to hit back up to 100 to 120 again, something like that. And the value of the dollar is going to go up as well. And what this is going to do is this is going to crush our economy, right? It's going to. Now, there's a lot of factors that are coming in that could skew that a little bit or delay it or parlay it. One is it's an election year, right? And so that matters to a point where the current administration is trying to say, hey, let's keep oil prices down because, hey, that we know we got hit pretty hard in the midterms because oil prices were up, right? People vote with their wallets first at the polls. Just ask anyone in Argentina right now. But so the administration is trying to do some things to wiggle that out and to help them get more votes because it is an election year. But at the same time, you look at 2008, 2020, 2000, those are all election years to where the economy went to crap. Excuse my French. Economy went down, and it was an election year, so it can happen still, right? If the economy goes down, then it is there's almost no president in history has been reelected in a down economy. Let's put it that way. So if the economy crashes before the election, that's going to change a lot of things, a lot of votes, if you get my drift. So that is my prediction. It could be passed, could be pushed back, parlayed. What a lot of the big heads that are talking, that I'm listening to, are saying, ones that have been really, really accurate in the oil space. Like, I don't know if they're just good at their job or they have information or both, but they say typically for this year, for the majority of 2024, it's just going to bounce around here, right? It's going to flatline, and by flatline, it'll bounce in the 70s, okay? And then in 2024, there's going to be a giant shortage, and oil is going to go up and be pretty high for a long time until we fix that. even if we have a change in presidents and the new president is like drill baby drill, it will take it'll take probably 12 to 18 months, most likely, for everything to get set up, everything to get going, etc., for energy prices to come down. When he says drill baby drill and he's elected, energy prices probably take a small hit, yeah, but then they'll probably pop back up because people realize we don't have the demand, we don't have the supply. Okay, so even if we have a Republican president, oil prices are looking to be very high and very good for us in 2025 for us that are investing in energy, right? If you're not investing in energy, buckle up. The price of the pump and the price of everything else is going to go up because energy touches everything. Energy is the economy. Memorize that. Lower energy prices, lower the price of everything else, make it more affordable. Higher energy prices raise the price of everything, make it less affordable. So you sell less and you have less profit margins. But the one thing I want to draw your attention to, the other thing, is this. Oil's touched 65-ish dollars a barrel. 1, 2, 3. I guess we'll call that a touch 4 times. I wouldn't know if I call that one 4 times in the last, since August of 2021. That's almost 3 years, right? All this goes to say, and they're hovering at $70 a barrel, give or take, right? It feels like 70-ish is the floor, okay, and 70-ish, by the way. What does this mean? A lot of people will tell you that, hey, oil is down from its, 40% from its all-time highs in 2022, blah, 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 right? Okay, that's 120. They don't expect it to stay there, all right? $70 a barrel in oil is not cheap oil. It is something that's very doable for oil and gas companies to make profits. And what we're seeing right now is they had record profits in 2022 because they set up all their wells, drilled it, capped it, and didn't frack it until right about here. Fracked it and then made a ton of money here. They triple, quadrupled their profits by just waiting, right? So they knew something that Russia was going to attack and the oil prices would fly through the roof. They have floors of people that they pay to predict and model these things, right? Oil and gas companies, big oil is big for a reason, right? They're good at what they do. Right now, and so all through 2023, they just floated on those cash reserves, right? If you make 4 times the amount of money or that you did in 1 year, you don't, and now all of a sudden all your expenses are going up by like 50, 100%. You can say, hey, we're just going to hold off for expenses to come down, right? You can do that, and you can float off those cash reserves. Those cash reserves are starting to go lower, and so now what we're seeing is about the last quarter of last year, especially something happened in like November where they were just starting to like drill baby drill and start to create new wells, case new wells, set everything up to frack and to get more oil out of the ground, right? And thus we will make more oil. So what's happening is I think they are, some of them, it depends on where they're at with the cash flow, if they need it, right? They're going to start fracking in this next quarter or two, right? Some will wait and hold off until Q3, maybe Q4, when they think oil prices are going to be up here, maybe up here. We're going to see what happens, okay? That's what we're expecting. But my point is this. Oil, $70 oil is not cheap. It is actually a really good heavy price. When we come down here and we get into the 40s, 35s, that's when oil companies just brace for impact and try to survive. Anything over about 48, 50 bucks, this is where they're break even, where they can say, hey, we can drill and have a sustainable company. We're not gonna make a ton of profits, but we're gonna survive, right? This is, hold on to your butts, this is surviving, okay? We're way up here. We're up here, right? And they are betting and predicting that it's gonna go higher. And now one thing I've learned in the years I've done this is don't bet against billion-dollar oil companies. Like they're betting what they own for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Because it works really well, and they know what they're doing. So my point is, when we invest in energy, $7 oil, it seems like that's around the floor right now, okay? It may pop down a little bit, but every time it just pops back up. Right now, we're in this cross section, and it seems like 2025 is going to be an amazing year. 2024 is going to be, I think the end of it's going to start to show quite a bit more production as well, and we're going to start to see that in our checks. But I'm going to spoil something for you. Where is the, let's see here. I don't have it Do I? Okay, I don't have it up, but I'll find it. It basically said that 2025 is going to be one of the best years for oil type thing again. So right now is the time to get your oil assets set up, energy assets set up, and just wait. Get them before they go off, right before oil goes up, because this does affect the price of the energy assets, right? And just be patient, and it'll pay off. Again, I send this report every month, but I've got tracks that will give me 40% a year in its first like year or two, right? I've got ones that are waiting, and a lot of my partners are going to see this because we bought a lot right here where they weren't drilling, and now they're going to start drilling, and my partners are going to see how good this is. Oil and gas is very slower than real estate, man. That's what I'm finding, and it goes in kind of like year cycles. So right now we're kind of in that lull, and we're about to head up, is what everyone's predicting. Okay, so enough about where oil is at. Natural gas, let's go through that one. So we get paid on both oil and natural gas. We get paid for every little piece of petroleum particulate they pull out, right? Where we are at, where we invest in, there is a good healthy mix between oil and gas, because when you put your straw on the ground, you're going to pull both up. Okay, in fact, natural gas, if it is wet natural gas, in other words, it has oil particulates in it, then what'll happen is you're going to pull up both, and then natural gas actually helps you pull up more oil because of the pressure, right? Because it's all about the pressure pushing the petroleum through that straw, and you pulling it out of the earth. This is why fracking is so important, because you overpressure it and it just flies up at you. Kind of like when you had a Capri Sun when you were kids and you had that last little bit, and so what'd you do instead of sucking really hard on it? You blew really hard into it, and then all the pressure in it just forced the liquid straight out into the straw, right? There are basins in the U.S. that are just dry gas, right? In other words, they don't have much oil or any oil at all. They're just known for their gas production. Okay, a lot of these are the Marcellus up in Pennsylvania. We got the Hayesville over in like East Texas, and there's the Barnett Shale. These are ones that are really heavily focused on natural gas, right? They are going to get hit hard as heck, right? In fact, I'm going to jump to one of the articles I want to go to. Liquefied natural gas, what to know about LNG and Biden's decision to delay gas export proposal. So this happened in January, right? What happened is the current administration said, hey, no more LNG, liquefied natural gas exports, okay? What they do is they condense natural gas, which is a vapor of air, like like on your stovetop, or a lot of times we use it natural gas for heating because it's a clean energy source. It's the cleanest thing you can burn, right? There's little to no carbon footprint, especially when you compare it to coal or wood or something like that, right? So we would compress it down into a liquid form. It's easier to ship, and then we would ship it overseas to other countries that needed it, right? And when natural gas was around the golden days, when it was like around $5 to $7, $9 an MCU, they were making a ton of money. In fact, some tankers were parked off Europe's shores waiting for natural gas to go back up and to sell it to them, right? Because they didn't have any, because the Russian war happened and with Ukraine, and these Western European countries said, hey, we're not going to buy natural gas from Russia anymore. Well, where are you going to get it from? Well, we don't know. We don't have any other pipelines. So the U.S. would condense it down, ship it over there, and they were making tons of money, hand over fist, right? And then we had some weak winters, and then the prices had gone down. But in an effort to help delay or study its effects on global warming, they have decided to ban all natural LNG, liquid natural gas exports, right? What does this mean? What is it going to do? For one, I'll talk about, like, it's not, well, I won't get political. Let's just put it that way. But what's this going to do? It's going to do a few things. One, it's going to keep LNG prices low for a time, right? Until it's repealed or until something happens, okay? Because natural gas is kind of a byproduct a lot of times of just drilling for petroleum, okay? And so sometimes they'll flare it off, but when prices are prices really high, they're not going to flare that stuff off. They're going to ship it and make profits on it, right? If we can't ship it, if we have access and we can't ship it overseas, we're going to get a glut of it right here at home, right? So that's going to create U.S. prices for natural gas to go lower, right? And so these are going to be low for a while. So people with minerals in the Marcellus, the Haynesville, the Barnett Shale, they're going to get hurt really, well, not hurt. They're going to see their profits go down really, really far. In fact, I have a guy that I know in one of my networking groups. He's a real estate networking group, and I'll say it, he was like, I'm just going to buy my own minerals. I'm not going to be partnering with you, James, and stuff. I think what his big thing was is because he didn't want to partner with me. He just wanted to do his own thing. I'm like, hey, cool, do that, man. You do your own thing. Well, guess where he bought? He bought up in the Pennsylvania area, which is Marcellus Basin, and he was making some great checks because he had bought it around here, right? Great checks, averaging what I was, or maybe a little more, but I was like, oh, man, I'm happy for you, happy for you. Bumped into him when natural gas fell over here. And what'd he tell me? He said, yeah. I was like, how's it going over there? And he's like, not good. Like his last check was like not even over $100, or something like that. He was hurting really bad because the profits were hit so hard, right? His minerals are still there. He still has ownership of them. The value's still in the ground, but we get paid when they pull the value out of the ground. If natural gas companies like Chesapeake are putting down rigs and pulling them off and capping them, Chesapeake's going to get hurt because they're not making money. The minerals owners aren't just going to make as much money as they were. In this case, it's a huge difference, right? Like going from thousands of dollars a month to not even $100 a month difference, right? And so I was like, hey, man, this is why we do what we do, because the minerals that we buy in Oklahoma and West Texas, they are a good mix. So if natural gas is up and petroleum's down, cool. It still balances our paycheck out. If it's the other way around, natural gas is down, petroleum's up, balances our paycheck out, right? It becomes very stable per se for our paychecks, and that's why we invest in these areas, because I'm working with some of the best people in the industry. None of them have hair on their head, or if it is, it's gray. If you get my drift, they have been there that long, and they bring brought their family members in. I mean, there's like hundreds of years of experience between the guys I work with, right? And they know their stuff. They've seen it before. And this other investor, that's a friend of mine, he didn't. He just got he got cheap or greedy or something like that, and said, "Hey, I'm gonna do it my own." And he bought in something that was great for like 6 months, maybe a year, and then it's not going to be doing him very well, and he's going to suffer for a while. So my point with that is not just to sell myself to you and say, "Hey, we're doing great things," but also be watchful, be careful, right? When you're investing in oil and gas, you have to think over a 3 to 5 year or more period, right? Not saying you had to have your investment in for that long, but you need to have that thought, because if you bought it up here, right, and he tries to sell it down here, he's gonna get a loss, right? No one's gonna buy it for that same price, okay? And the key right now is to buy stuff around here and just wait for it to pop up and boom, right? And we've been doing that for the last 6 to 12 months. So, but what else will this do? Okay, and this is where it's not political, but it is. So the U.S. consumers are going to see better natural gas prices, right? It's going to lower that. So heating and some cooling costs should go down a bit, depending on where you're at and how much natural gas they use. What else is going to happen? Europe still needs natural gas, especially Western Europe. They're not going to get it from Putin, or they might start to get it from Putin, right? Or Russia, I should say. But they're going to start to hurt. The prices there are going to start to go up. Not only that, but Russia is the largest contributor to the East, you would say, for natural gas and oil. If the U.S. can't ship it over there and compete with him, he can raise his prices, all right? What is this going to do? It's going to give Russia more funding for their war in Ukraine and any other wars they want to do. So really what this president is doing, and it's not really for the right reason when you take a look at it, but he's going to hurt Europe. He's going to give Russia more money in their pockets, and that's going to help them fight Ukraine and do really whatever they want, because they'll have the liquidity to do so, right? It's going to affect our industry because it's going to lower the price of natural gas. Some companies are going to get hurt. They're going to pull rigs off. But where we're at, it's not really going to affect us all that much. You know, our paychecks are going to feel it a little bit, not much. But a lot of times, if oil goes up, that's gonna more than make up for our paychecks. I'm not really worried about my paycheck. Let's put it that way, right? I am thinking more of, hey, it's not going to be as cream of the crop as it was last time, because again, we have a lot of oil and gas mixes in our mineral rights, and we do that for a reason, because we know this. We're going to do this long term. So, all right, moving on from that. Here's another thing that might happen that is really big. U.S. carries out retaliatory strikes on Iranian-linked militia targets in Iraq and Syria, right? So Iran, this is important. We're not in a hot war yet, and I hope we don't. I really don't. But I think everyone can take a step back and say, in our lifetime, in the history of our lifetime, in our parents' lifetimes, depending on how old your parents are, we have never been this close to had this much talk about a third world war, right? I think we need to take that into consideration when things. Not saying to invest on it. Again, none of this is advice at all. But I'm saying I think we need to keep that in the back of our minds. It's getting hotter in the Middle East, and I'm not talking about the temperature of the that the sun is giving. I'm talking about the political climate. Iran produces about 10 to 15% of the world's oil. There have been senators and Congress people that have said, hey, we should just bomb Iran's oil fields, right? That'll teach them a lesson. Regardless, if we do that, oil is definitely going up. If we don't, and we get into a conflict with Iran, right, and ports and things are shut down, and people can't, even though they might be producing oil and gas, they can't get it. It's going to spike it's going to spike gas again. Like, you think 120 was bad when Russia invaded? If we bomb Iran, or the U.S. gets in a fight with Iran, it's going to go up to 150, maybe 180 is my guess. We'll see what happens if that happens. Hopefully it doesn't. But these are things that, again, don't invest on it. But if it does, the world will be shocked, and we will make a ton of money. I'm not gonna lie. That's not. I don't want that to happen. I would love for oil just to be around 90 to 100, $105, just hover there, because we're making a ton of money, but it's not gonna break ourselves. But if the U.S. and Iran, or the U.S. and really any Middle Eastern country that is an oil producer, has a massive amount of conflict, it's going to push up oil and gas prices like crazy. We're going to see it. And then, again, I think where our economy's at, if oil flies up and stays there for a time, it's going to crush the economy. We're going to make a ton of money, and on the backside, oil is going to eat itself, okay, and go down. And that is when we scoop up other assets we take the money we made, we scoop up other assets that aren't doing well, and we hold them until they do, and then we resell them when they're at our highs, and we rinse, lather, rinse, repeat. Bought my first houses in 2011, so doubled when I sold them in 2022. Okay, so that's the news that I want to share with you. I hope we don't go into a hot war with Iran, but it's looking more and more. It's edging closer to that. So we're going to see, and this is not talking about the stuff between China and the U.S. and China and Taiwan, how that's going to affect things. It's going to get kind of scary. But my point is, if it gets really bad, oil is going to get really good. Okay. I'm not saying invest for that chance. We've got plenty of wiggle room here at $70, and it just kind of looks to go north. This is good and healthy. Also, we've seen a ton of drilling and preparation to frack in the last 3 months. Some we're going to start fracking now. Some we're going to hold off to the summer. But this is, I think, by the end of the 2024, it's going to start to get really good. 2025 is going to be amazing. So I would encourage you, invest now if you're looking to get into it. If you want more information, let me know. And the last thing I'll leave you with, Cornerstone Partners, you guys got paid out, and then Rhino is paying out this month. These are just 2 tracks that me and my partners have, and they are paying out for the first time. One already did, the other just started and pay this month, so I'm excited for you. with that, I'm gonna leave you. I've got a few other stuff to go through, as you can see. But if you have any questions, let me know. We're gonna see what the future holds. I'm excited yet tense about it, but I know that the people I'm working with, they are amazing at what they do. They have the foresight, the future sight of I think they have a crystal ball in their back pocket because they are that good at what they do. So hopefully you'll join me in it. If not, hey, I understand. If you got questions, I'm here to answer you. If you want on my email list, all the stuff is free. I send out info and opportunities as well. Let me know. But this is James. I will see you guys later.